Hello, YouTube. It's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan, and today we're going to do an interview. I'm interviewing Tentai Books, well, more specifically, Alex, who is the owner of Tentai Books. And yeah, so before we get into that, though, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 50 subscribers, so every subscription counts. If you guys could please help me out and help me reach that goal, it'd be really amazing. And comment down below. Share your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. And if you guys have any extra questions that you wish I had asked him or that you're curious about, let me know in the comments. And maybe I can ask him if I can do another interview sometime. Let's get right into it. Hello, everyone. This is Lion with Hobbies of a Man. And today we're going to do an interview. We have Alex from Tentai Books. And we're going to do some questions for him. So, Alex, can you start by introducing yourself, letting us know who you are and how'd you get into otaku culture?
Okay, well, I'll try to answer in the best of my capabilities, but my name is Alejandro, or Alex, as everyone calls me. And I'm the guy who runs Tentai Books, basically.
Sure.
The way I got into otaku culture was mainly because of, the classic, I watched an anime when I was X years old, and then I got hooked,
Yeah.
and then this and that happened, and I ended
Mhm.
up starting to learn Japanese because of it. And well, the first contact I had with media that wasn't anime was visual novels, so that's what I'm more acquainted with.
Uh-huh.
But several circumstances in the end led me to actually, well, build the company around light novels instead of visual novels, which is a genre that I'm acquainted with. The genre I've been working in fan translation teams. It's just that it's something that is not as big, I guess, as anime and manga. So it's a little bit.
Visual
It,
novels or light novels? Sorry.
uh, it's light novels. Yeah, visual novels is something that will always be niche, but light
Mhm.
novels is a little bit more, mainstream. If I had to describe it, even though they are not exactly mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's basically that. Just I've been learning Japanese for what now, 5 years or something like that. I don't have a count, but I think it's 5 years. And yeah, I made the company like what last year, but we've been working on the licenses for quite a long time. But now we finally managed to go public at the beginning of this month. And yeah, the first thing we're releasing is coming in a matter of a week.
Yeah,
And
days. 9 days, something like that.
yeah, exactly. Today is 20th of May for
Mm-hmm.
those who are watching. So
Yeah.
I guess in 9 days it'll be available on the multiple stores that the book will be available in.
So you mentioned that you came about into light novels through some circumstances, and I know you answered this in a different interview in Spanish, but could you tell us how you got into light novels for us English speakers?
Yeah, sure. I need my moment. Sorry. Basically, I was trying to learn Japanese. It was like the
Mm-hmm.
first contact I had was like 1 month into my learning process, so you
Okay.
can already imagine the disaster looming in, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Basically, I started reading Elf Tensei, which is
Okay.
I don't know if you know Elf Tensei or not, but it's one of those it's one of those titles by I don't remember right now. I think it's Kodansha. I think it's Kodansha who owns
Mm-hmm.
the license. I'm not sure right now. But I started reading Elf Tensei, and I really liked the
Okay.
premise. I really liked the images that the book had to offer, and I thought, hey, this looks cool, right? Like, is this
Yeah.
something that only like this something that only happens with this book, or are there more books and are they
Uh,
related to the series I like?
yeah.
And then I started going into what books existed, and in the end, I was surprised because most of the series that I actually liked were books, and some of them were even books before they became serialized. So that's the way I got into it. The book that got me most interested was Jojo Senki.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to, say the one that impacted me the most and the one that made me want to get into it more, it
Okay.
was Jojo Senki. I read the English version before the Japanese one, because the Japanese one is pretty hard to read.
Uh,
It has a lot of military language and
yeah.
not very easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, after getting into it, I tried. This was like less than 1 year into my learning process, which is I tried to translate chapters from Elf Tensei, and you can imagine the result. It didn't go very well.
Yeah.
So I think I still have the attempt in my computer. It's trash. It never got released. God bless.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started realizing also that most of the culture around fan translation, it wasn't even fan translation. It was just machine translation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just because I got into a group that mostly machine translated, and it was something that was viewed as normal and something it wasn't something outrageous for them
Uh-huh.
or for many of the people who read these books. And I thought it was interesting because my experience, I was dabbling in visual novels before, and the concept of machine translation in those communities is heresy, like straight
Mhm.
heresy, and you should never touch it, which is what I think is the normal, but I don't think it's as widespread in light novels, and I just shocked me, just
Yeah.
things that shocked me
Mhm.
from the community. But yeah, that's how I basically got into it. It's because I started reading Elf Tensei and then Jojo Senki, and then many others that came after that.
Mhm. Yeah. So, can you tell us what machine translating means? I assume it means Google Translate, but
Uh, I guess it has different definitions. I guess some people it is literally Google or Bing
Mhm.
translation. I don't know what
Yeah.
they use, but they use they copy paste the text in one side, they copy paste the text in other side, and then they lightly edit it so it's not blatantly obvious that it's trash.
Yeah, they like fix it up a little bit.
Yeah, basically it's just
Okay.
so you can read it, and then there's other people who I guess this is I would define it as advanced machine translation, still machine translation, but
Uh-huh.
I guess it's people who just use hookers dictionaries, and they try to make up the meaning based on what they read on the text and its definition of the dictionary. These people have some manner of expertise with Japanese. Well, I'm gonna say expertise even though it's not that, but let's say they have studied for a year, for example,
Uh-huh.
and they know how grammar works. So if you know how grammar works, sometimes you can figure out how to read some certain passages based on only the definitions of the dictionary.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that is machine translation version 2 upgraded. I don't know. It's still bad, but I mean,
Yeah.
at least they're trying, I suppose.
Okay, sure. Thank you for explaining that. Because I'm kind of new to light novels myself, and so mostly what I've read is isekai, and I don't really know the translation side of things. So it's nice to see that side of things. The next question here that I have is: you've picked up titles that are not really common in the industry yet. Like you picked a rom com and a fantasy centered around food, I think.
Uh,
Kind
second
of,
one
right? Or,
is
centered
kind of
around
meta.
the restaurant, right?
Yeah, the second one is kind of meta.
Yeah,
It is not isekai, but it is the closest thing to the
isekai
meta of
related.
what companies release now. Like it is not isekai, but
Uh-huh.
it does have elements that would make you think, damn, if this wasn't fantasy, this would be like if the character was born in Earth and got transported to this world and he was a cook,
Yeah.
it would be isekai.
Okay.
It is not though, but
Uh-huh.
it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
If I
So,
had to describe it.
how do you think that choice and the establishment of Tentai kind of affects the industry? Because you're bringing in things that are not common, at least in the English market.
Um, the issue is that things like isekai and fantasy, well, more isekai than fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
because there's different kinds of fantasy, but isekai in general is a genre that it's been overexploited in
Yeah.
general.
Sure.
Other companies, well, not other companies, every single company does some sort of isekai,
Yeah.
and there are some that do loads of it, and there are some that don't do it as
Yeah.
much, but they still do it quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it is because it is what sells the most.
Sure.
It is objectively true. It's just that I don't want to be another company who just releases isekai. I don't want to release things that others already do. That's just
Yeah.
boring. It would be like, oh yeah, we're a new company and we're just gonna provide more of the same content always. I'm not
Yeah.
saying every single isekai is the same, but most of them share things that people are already used to,
Yeah.
and people get tired. I get
Mhm.
tired. Personally, I get tired.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I understand. Uh,
Yeah, so it's basically that. I just want to, of course, some isekais maybe we license, but I don't want to follow the path of isekai if I can avoid it. Like
Okay.
I really wish something like I really wish people like the rom com and people ask for more rom coms so we
Yeah.
can stay doing that because that's what I like to do, and that's content that hasn't been released much in
Hmm.
general, and there's quite a selection of series that are not represented and should be, should have more attention.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Since I'm really new to it, like I said, I've noticed that most of the popular stuff is isekai. And although I'm not tired of it yet because I'm brand new into it, I can see how if you're reading, a 20 plus series, it gets annoying that all of them are the same thing. So I totally get that.
Yeah, it's just, some of them are very good. Like I'm not
Hmm.
saying all of them are bad, for like not at all. There are some
Yeah.
isekais that are amazingly good. It's just that there's just too many of them. Like there's going to be a point where people get tired, and
Yeah.
there's other companies who already do things better. Like there are already companies that base themselves off of isekai already. So why would I do isekai if others do it better than us? Just
Yeah,
better to find something unique.
that makes sense. So can you talk about the Spanish market? Because I know that basically there is no Spanish market right now, right? So do you think you'll start having more types of companies releasing light novels if you guys succeed? Because I think right now, at least in Latin America, Panini has one light novel, and then Kana has another one, and then that's basically it. Or Kamite has Soma Spider So What, and Panini has Overlord, and that's the only light novels I think are available in Latin America in Spanish.
It's just hard to deal with light novels because
Hmm.
uh, first of all, it's not a genre that it's been as widespread as manga. And manga, as you probably know, what rules in Spanish is manga. It
Yeah.
has always been manga for at least a decade or more,
Hmm.
and it will stay being manga for a very long time, if not indefinitely,
Yeah.
as it is in English. So the issue is, first of all, that. Second of all, is that it's how to explain. Just there's no infrastructure basically in
Hmm.
Latin American countries, nor in Spain. I would say there's no infrastructure in Spain either, because the usual method, which is the method that I know, is the American method, which is first release digitals and then release physicals. But the
Hmm.
dynamic is not the same in Spanish. Spanish people do prefer physicals over digitals, as far as I've seen. Spanish people from Spain, of course. I'm not speaking about Latin America. And there's also a grave misconception about Latin American people pirating everything they see.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Like
understand.
I do move myself in communities of Latin American countries
Yeah.
related to light novels more than Spanish ones. And it is like something that is, people. It's like this consensus that everyone thinks that like Latin American countries and people who live there will always pirate, which is
Yeah.
inherently false. It's just that there have been no companies that offer sensible solutions to,
Yeah.
to offer them an easy access to this content. Like
Hmm.
if you don't offer digital versions because they don't sell in Spain, so I'm not making one, then you don't offer digital versions there either.
Yeah.
So you don't have access to the content, so you are forced to pirate it in the end.
Hmm.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And also the issue comes with everything is done in Spain basically. There's some companies, as you said, that do physicals over there, but it's just very limited amount of physicals.
Hmm.
And buying those physicals, even if you want them from Spain, is super expensive. Like one book could amount to
Yeah.
$40 or $50. I don't know how much it costs
Yeah. It's like
normally, but
$70 shipping.
yeah, there you go. It
It's
is
I
not good.
I don't want to pay $15 for a book that I can get at the store down the road. Why would I pay $80 to get a book from overseas? I understand. It's really rough, actually. And I think you're right. Latin Americans would probably prefer physical versions, but I would also say that Americans do as well. It's just America is so much more used to buying digitals because it's like so much easier, right? And like I don't know if the culture in Latin America and in Spain really reflects that because it's oriented differently. We value things a little differently here than we do in Latin America and Spain, right? So I I can see it being difficult. So the next question is: does the fact that you're in Spain and you have a different cultural outlook than us in in the U.S. Affect the titles that you'll try to pick? Because of the market or the culture or any other difference.
I don't think so. Almost all of my experience with communities related to otaku culture comes from the States and Latin American countries. So I'd say I'm closer to what an American thinks of what
Mhm.
animes would be cool to watch rather than someone who lives in Spain, basically.
Okay.
So in fact, I'd say I'm more disconnected with the Spanish audience than with the English one, basically,
Okay.
because all of my work and all of my interactions have been in English all my life.
Okay.
So it's always trying to figure out what people want, and in the I want it's just that it's going to take time, especially here, because I'm still daunting on what to do regarding some aspects of our releases. And it's gonna take some trial and error, but we're gonna do it. It's because there's no data in the end. Like there's no
Mhm.
data in Spanish at all. Like there's 2 titles out. I cannot draw conclusive data from that, and I cannot
Yeah.
base myself off of manga because manga is completely different from a light novel,
Yeah.
basically.
So how do you pick titles then? Because you said that what's it called? There's no market information, right? So how are you picking titles?
On these first 2 titles, I had to pick something that was available in both languages because
Okay.
I wanted to try the dual release. Although it's something that I'll probably never do again.
Okay.
And yeah, it's basically like it basically came down to what would the English audience like more. Like
Uh-huh.
in the end, it is that because my experience comes from the English side of the community. So I base myself off of what the English audience would rather see, as well as and like no shame, my own likes and preferences.
Okay.
Like there were some cool titles on the table, but
Hmm.
what really caught my attention were these two, and I saw potential, and they are pretty good titles.
Okay.
So that's why I base myself off to, and it's probably going to be like that in the future, like close future. I don't know about distant future. I hope not, because these decisions, it's something that you have to take on with other people. But
Yeah.
for now, it's just me choosing what I like and what I perceive to be good, and what could be sellable and what people could like, basically.
Okay. So do you think that the English market is really what's gonna hold your company stable while you try to figure out what to do with the Spanish market?
It hurts to say so a little bit, but yes, I think it's going to be like that for a little while until we figure out what people want and what people want to see.
No.
Uh, yeah, I have nothing to add regarding that. It's yes. The answer is yes, I think.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm not going to pay the different attention to either. It's
Of
just that
course.
I'm going to take it slowly on one side, and I'm going to take it to my pace in the other.
Yeah. I
That's it.
mean, that makes sense. You already have a market in one, and the other one is completely, untamed land that you have no clue what is going to happen in. So, yeah, I can understand that. So, this next question is kind of related. My friend, the Prom G, another YouTuber, asked, "What's the biggest obstacle you face trying to create and solidify your business?" And this is kind of broad, so if you want to talk about a specific, instance or topic, that's cool.
Mm, it's always the same thing. It's gaining the trust of Japanese companies,
Okay.
because it's a long process. Like once you start working with them and releasing things, they trust you. Oh, you have worked with Japanese people before, then we do trust you with titles. But until then, it's a really long journey, and
Yeah.
it took close to a year to actually finally find something, where we could stand on. But
Yeah.
it is basically that, just the weight of, will they answer to us, and then if they even answer, will they consider our petition and working with us, because it's as if someone you don't know knocks to your door and says, hey, I want to work with you on your
Yeah.
business, and you don't know anything about them. you know it is a leap of faith they have to take, and we have to take the risk. So it's basically that. It's just having them trust us, which is hard. It is not an easy job, and that's the hardest part, because the rest is just bureaucracy, I guess. On my end is bureaucracy, and translation is not something that it's hard. I like translating. That's
Mhm.
the fun part of my work, although it is not the majority of my work, unfortunately. So yeah, it's basically that.
So you're part of the translating team?
Yeah, I'm the only translator in English right now, so
Oh,
yes.
okay. Wow, that sounds really tough. Uh, well, you have a team, right, that does other parts of the job as well. You like, how does
Yeah, yeah,
it
of
kind of
course.
work? Can you
Like the
explain a little bit?
the issue, like you cannot make these the kinds of businesses without knowing people in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do have a team in both languages. It is bigger in English because my connections
Are based
are
in
closer
English.
to the English side, of course. And it is, let's see, it is me as translator, Pomelo editing, and then we have two QAs, and that's basically it. There's someone working on images. I do typesetting
Okay.
of both books. And then yeah, in the Spanish side it's just three people. It's me who supervises the translation, translator. We have a translator, and then we have an editor, and that's basically it. We don't have QA, unfortunately,
Oh,
in
wow.
Spanish.
So it's
Well, in
yeah.
time we will hopefully change that. It's just it'll
Okay.
take time.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really hard. Actually, that's you guys are probably overworked, aren't you?
Me, of course, I'm overworked, but it's my business, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. The rest of people have their own jobs to do, so it's fine. Like it is not overwork. Just they have to do one thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. We're gonna move on to uh, user submitted questions. I guess they come from Reddit. So the first one here that we have is: do you plan to translate whatever you license to English and Spanish? And would this cause limitations if you were to do that?
Mm, no, I think this is I created misunderstandings with these
Yeah.
two first titles. I do not want to release double language. I do not want to do double releases of languages ever again. It is something
Okay.
that I just it's too hard to manage. Well, it's not hard to manage, it's just time consuming. And I
Yeah.
have to do a million things, and I cannot afford to split myself every single time. And it's just better to have one novel on one language and then another on another language. They are mutually exclusive. So you know I'm not going to do that ever again. If I want to translate something in English and it is not licensed in English but just in Spanish, I will try to get it in English. And if it's something that is in both languages, I'll probably just take it in one language. That's how it's going to be in
Okay.
the future. Or maybe in the future we would like to revisit the idea, but for now I don't think it is something I would like to do ever again,
Well, I
basically.
mean, yeah, but wouldn't you be able to do it if you like stagger them, kind of like release the English one first and then a year later do the Spanish one, or is that allocating too many resources to the same license? Like,
No, I
like
think it could be done. It's just that again, if I'm going to do that, it's going to be simultaneous because it is more convenient to do it that
yeah,
way.
I mean, you're gonna have to do both types of work anyways, right? So might as
Yeah,
well do that
exactly.
at the same
But yeah, this is the first and last time I'm doing double license, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're not opposed to licensing English things that are already released in English, right? This is another Reddit question from a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
user, and just for completeness, I guess.
yeah. Of course, I do want to license things that are. I mean, there are a lot of licenses that are very interesting and big licenses that are already in English but not in Spanish. But that doesn't mean they cannot be done in the other language. So
Mhm.
yes, the answer would be yes, and it is the most likely thing in the future to happen.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't want to do dual releases. like I said before.
Uh-huh.
So it's just, I'll pick something that is already in English, and if it's something big, which is what I intend to get, if I can. If I don't, then whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's something that is already in English, it doesn't matter. Like the license in Spanish is open. So if I want to take that, I will take that. Like that's how it's gonna work.
Okay.
And it same goes in English. I will, but then again, not if it hasn't been licensed to English, it hasn't been licensed. So
Yeah, okay. So how does that affect the Japanese companies? Do they want to license things that are already in English, or are they against it? Because the English market is much larger, and people from other countries are going to buy English releases regardless. So if you get a new language, doesn't that take away from that market?
not really. It is a completely separate manner. If I've talked with companies that already have licenses in English, and I've asked about titles in Spanish, and they were open to it. So
Oh,
I
okay.
would say no. I would say they don't care if it's in English already. They will be open to licensing in Spanish.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited to be able to read a lot of the bigger licenses that are already available in their own language. I mean, I know I am. I would love to read, like 86 or Danmachi or something in Spanish. It'd be super cool.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, it's also because I don't speak Spanish as well as I do English because I didn't really learn it as growing up. So being able to read is a nice way to practice it. So and I'm more interested in light novels right now than regular books. Anyway, so the next question is, are you open to chasing old licenses? And this user asked for 3 specific ones, and hopefully this is the only question like that because I'm sure that it's annoying to have to answer yet the same thing over and over again. They asked for
It's fine.
Shana, Zero no Sakaima, which is a Zero's Familiar in English, I think, and Slayers.
This is for Spanish, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they meant for either one. They
It
didn't really
depends
specify
on
a
the license.
language, but assuming both languages, because some of these are licenses that got picked up, and then they were like Tokyo Pop, I think. And when Tokyo Pop exploded in the U.S., it all kind of died down. So they're asking if you would be chasing old licenses if you're open to that.
Short answer is yes, but it depends. Again, most of my selective process is by if I like what I'm seeing or not,
Mm-hmm.
and if I like this story. And mm, I don't know. It's just that old licenses generally are not my thing. Is it something that I would be considering in the future? Yes, but it really depends. I would say yes as a broad answer, but I cannot say like it's not a no, but it's not a yes either. Like it really
Yeah.
depends.
Okay. Can Is it because they're not viable in the market, or is it because you're not interested, or like?
Some of them would be viable. It's just that I want to keep a certain line of what I want to release in terms of genre,
Mhm.
and my picks. It depends on really on what I choose, but I cannot just release a title that doesn't have anything to do with what I've released before. Imagine I release only isekais, and then out of the blue, I release a rom-com. It's
Uh-huh.
just breaking into that pace you have gotten yourself into. And most of these old licenses don't really fit what I'm looking for in terms of what I want.
Yeah.
But then again, some of them are good. Um, some of them are good, and I would like to visit them at some point. But it is not my immediate future. It is not within my immediate future plans.
Okay. So the next question here is by another user, and they asked if you have any specific type of novels that you want to pick or a target demographic. And I guess you kind of answered this already, but I think the demographic is probably the most important part. Are you targeting anything
Mm,
specifically?
no, I think. I mean, I think rom. Like first of all, I love rom coms. I would love to do a rom com based company if I could, or something that focuses on the cutesy books. the books that are wholesome. Of course, I'm not. I do want to do ecchi content too. It's just that
Yeah. Okay.
not hentai, but borderline ecchi could work.
Okay.
But I have this tendency of like having anime tastes. In anime, the most popular thing has always been the school slice of life, this and that.
Yeah, like High School DxD kind of for an ecchi title.
Yeah, but without seeing the entire thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like 16 to 18 range, like not 18 plus.
yeah, exactly. Like 18 plus, I think. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I don't want to follow that path. At least in the at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather do content for everyone and not just isekais.
Yeah.
Isekais, other companies do that,
Uh-huh.
but rom-coms, school slice of life, wholesome novels, basically. That's what I'm looking for,
Sure.
and that's what I've always liked, and it is something that is not represented as well in the light novel market. So we want to make especially a dent on that genre
Yeah.
and the possibilities.
I think a lot of people thought that you would go into, ecchi or like almost borderline hentai because you picked uh novels that are not regularly represented, right? Because if I think about it, the most ecchi type of things are like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord or something like that. And the fact that you picked a rom com and a fantasy kind of made people excited and like eager to see if you would pick anything up that was more on the adult side of things. But
Yeah,
uh,
I will. It's just that it won't be straight out hentai.
mhm,
There are tons of those novels. I won't be picking those, at least for now. I just don't want to associate the main brand with hentai, as most of the companies do.
mhm,
And but something that is not exactly that, but very close, I wouldn't mind. It is something that I have a keen interest in.
okay. So, can you tell us a little bit about why you wouldn't want to associate the brand? Is that for marketing problems in the US, or is that so that Japan is more likely to talk to you?
I mean, several factors. The main one is that you cannot associate one brand with several genres at the same time. I mean,
Hmm.
you can. It's just that confuses people, because
Okay.
when people see a certain company of light novels, they say, "Oh, these are the ones who release these kinds of genres all the time." It's not like, "Oh, these are the ones that release literally everything and anything." Like that's just confusing. So I'd rather do something separate for something more risk. Basically it is just for the sake of not confusing people. And next, well, the other one is, yes, as you know, many payment processors slash Japan slash the rest of the planet doesn't want to openly get associated with companies that do this kind of content, basically.
Yeah.
Like, of course, many will do it. It's just that it's very hard, and I would rather keep my possibilities open rather than close them by doing that kind of content now.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's understandable. Um, is there anything you won't license, like at all, completely?
Mm, Not really. I like every genre more or less. I mean, the one I like the least. Well, I wouldn't say the least. It's just that I haven't read anything about it. Is voice
Hmm.
love. That's basically the rest. I more or less know what I can survey and what I can get. In fact, my favorite one is otome. So
Okay.
if that gives
Which
you an
is
idea.
recently getting really popular, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, I wouldn't say it's super popular, but it's something that is growing, and there's a reason for it, which is it offers a variety of stories that you would never see in novels that are aimed towards other demographics rather than in case of otome is women, but I wouldn't say it is directed at women. Like it just
Yeah. If
it's just different kind of stories basically.
yeah, it's a different type of spin on the isekai as well. It's a little bit more interesting because it's similar but different enough, you know?
Yeah, it just offers other kinds of stories and art that you will never see in other
Mhm.
types of novels. So it is a very interesting genre.
Yeah.
And the same applies with boys love. It's just that I've never read boys love, basically. I've never been able to, but I will try at some point. It's just that I don't have the time now. And
Yeah, that's understandable. I haven't really jumped into that either. Um, let's see. Did you consider isekai for your opening title, or was that like completely off the table?
no, I did. I really did. In fact, the first thing I had in mind is I have to take an isekai so I sell the books. Basically,
Uh,
that's what my idea. But I discussed it with a friend of mine who is in the company too,
mhm.
and he said, "Dude, you should try to not take the isekai. Like maybe you should explore other opportunities." And then he directed me to this one that we took, the side character novel. And he said, "Dude, this looks pretty good." And I looked at it, and he was right. Uh, and yeah, that's how I got the idea. I said, well, if we're not gonna have something isekai, we have to have something similar at least, you know,
Yeah.
just to keep myself safe. That's what I thought, and that's why I took the other title basically, because yes, there were some isekais in the list that we were given. There was one with I think it has 5 volumes now or
Okay.
something like that. But yeah, I had the idea. It's just that in the end I didn't take it
Yeah.
because yeah, it's just everyone does it, and it wouldn't be something that people would be looking forward as much as something different, basically.
No, that's understandable. So you picked two titles that are ongoing. It was that a strategy based around like marketability, or was it just they're cheaper, or some combination of things?
No, it's just that every title that we were offered was ongoing. Like you have to choose what you think will work best, not only for the English readers slash Spanish readers, but also what Japan will
Hmm.
allow to continue. Because as you know, most of like how the light novel market goes is that if you don't sell X amount of books with this volume, it gets chopped and this series gets discontinued. So you really have to choose something that you think this will trend towards being sold and it won't be chopped, I think, you know. So it's kind of like gambling in a way. It's not exactly gambling, but you
Yeah.
have to know what you're doing. But it
Hmm.
is in a way gambling if you had to explain in a way, because you cannot know how the market will react towards this or that. But you have to choose what will get, you know, next, like follow-up books, which is our case. I think third volume of Diner of the Exile has been confirmed, and it's coming out next month in Japan, I think.
Okay.
And the third volume of Side Character was announced by the author in his personal blog at some point last year. Oh no, it was like 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
But he announced the third book, and it should be coming out right now. It's just that for some reason it's not. It's probably because either the author or the illustrator are busy. But
Okay.
it has been confirmed to be coming. It's just that we don't know when, basically.
Okay. Actually, I think I misspoke. I didn't mean ongoing. I meant so small. Like they only have 2 or 3 volumes each, right? So why
Hmm.
pick that instead of something that was already longer, that you already kind of knew that it was selling well?
Most of the titles of the company we work with are already taken in English with multiple volumes. It is very hard to find something that is beyond the 5 volume mark, basically.
Okay.
We had the option of the isekai. It's just that I didn't want to take the isekai for reasons. But that was the only choice I had if I wanted to continue a series with multiple volumes, basically.
Understandable. I have a question about the way that you translated. Well, actually, translation in general. So, how do you do translation in two languages? Do you translate into one and then from that one into another, or is it direct from Japanese for both?
Uh, the optimal way and the way we do it is we do it from Japanese, both of them. The thing is that I supervise both translations. Like I do the English one, and another person does the Spanish one, but I supervise the Spanish one. So there is a similarity between the two, and I understand why both of them would sound similar because you know I work on both of them. So some things that stuck on me with English, I just put them in Spanish sometimes. You know, in when I revise the text. But no, ideally is that you take it from Japanese and then do it individually to English and to Spanish, basically. It would be easier to do it from English to Spanish after you translate from Japanese. The issue is that you lose, you lose context. You already lose context by translating it to English. You lose even more if
Mm-hmm.
you hypothetically retranslated it to another language. And you don't really want to do that. You want to stay as true to the original as possible. So that's why it is done like that.
Yeah, I imagine translating is a difficult art to well, not master, but just do, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to say I know a lot about it. I don't have I have professional experience translating. I've been paid before to translate. It's just that I haven't studied. I don't have a degree in translation, so I just guide myself off of what I've learned and what others have taught me before.
Mm,
Because most of the translators who work on this field, I'm not gonna say all of them, but most of them came from fan translation. Like they don't have a degree either. It's people that through experience and time doing it, they get into a rhythm that allows them to become good. And I think I'm more or less the same. I don't think I'm the best by all means, but I have professional experience, so that
mhm.
should say something at least.
Cool. Okay, so this other question I have is kind of personal. Like I'm interested in knowing is how do you pick what version of the language you're translating to? In English, it's all pretty much the same, right? Like everyone is okay with reading the same type of English, but in Spanish, did you pick Latin American because that's a much larger possible market, or did you pick Castellano, which is Spanish for English speakers, or how did you do it?
Mm, Initially, I wanted, like, at the very first moments of the company, I wanted to do it more towards the Latin American countries
Hmm.
because the market is just bigger. The issue with that is that I live in Spain and the company is in Spain, so it make little sense. Well, no, it wouldn't make little sense, but it would be weird to
Yeah,
do Latin American Spanish from here. It just
yeah,
doesn't correlate. So this was something that we discussed a lot with the team, and the editor in the end convinced me to do something more neutral. Although after reading it, I finished the EPUBs today actually.
uh-huh.
After reading it, I feel it tends more towards Castilian rather than Latin American because we all live here in the end. So obviously some things stick out as obviously Castilian,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, we wanted to tend towards the neutral side. Although this is again something we're experimenting with, it tends more towards Castilian. I'd say, like, it is more Castilian than anything else.
I mean,
But
that's where you are. It makes sense.
yeah, but at the same time, it is just you neglect the other side of the market, which is huge, and that
Mhm.
is not the reason I got the licenses for Latin American countries in the end. I want everyone to be able to read it and feel comfortable if possible. That
Okay.
was my idea.
So, if the company grows, would you be open to having a specific localization for Latin America, or are you going to keep all the Spanish kind of the same?
It really depends. Not every time we will be able to license everything for Latin America. Like the company we work with has been very generous and and gave us the rights for Latin America, but this doesn't apply to every single company. Most of the companies, I'd say, give out licenses per countries.
Oh, okay.
So most of the times, I'm not gonna say now, but most of the times, I assume the digital versions will only be available here in Spain, although you will be able to purchase them from here to your countries. Because licensing per country, it is hard. Like, that is not easy, and it's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I knew that I would be licensing for Latin American countries and for Spain, I would have dedicated teams. Yes, that is the idea. Although that would be something that is not in the immediate future because it's managing teams in the end, and
Hmm.
that saps quite a lot of time. So
Yeah, that's understandable. So, so you said they do it uh country wise. How does it work? Why is it divided by region or by country? I guess.
I mean, it's just monetary things. Like, Just try to check any yen press title in Europe. It's impossible. You cannot access the digital versions from Amazon, because there's no access. Like they don't have the rights to sell it digitally through here. But if you want to buy them a book from, if you want to import a book, you have you can do it.
The ability to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's mostly because one country equals one license and one license equals cash. So
Mm-hmm.
so it makes sense to divide per countries.
Okay. Cool. So this next question is also mine. Is how are you doing the physical releases? I know that you were asking about them for the Spanish version. Do you have a general size or something that you can tell us?
Yeah, I did a blog post not so long ago talking about them in the website. The Spanish physicals we don't have plans yet,
No.
but it is regarding the English physicals. Yeah, the size. If you're acquainted with Yempress titles, it has the same size. It is digest size, which is
Okay.
148 to 10.
Size? The
Yes, exactly,
okay.
something closer to that.
Okay.
Um, Gloss cover, like they will be the standard gloss cover books basically.
Okay.
Although they will have the difference is that they have dust cover. That's the biggest difference that it has, which is I think it's new in English releases.
Yeah.
I know that in Spanish releases gloss cover already exists, but I'm pretty sure in English releases if they exist they are very rare. Like they seldom exist basically.
Yeah. I
So
think they only work. They only sell them for like Overlord, which has the hardcover release, and Bacano, I think.
well there you go. That's your answer. Like we want to do that for every single release. It's just that it's always the same thing. We're testing if it's viable for us to do
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of releases. Depends on sales as always. So we'll have to see how that works and based on the results how to act. But that's the main difference. And also we really want to add extra content to the physical. Like my idea of physicals is that they should really have extra content. Like the digital should have the standard version, the version everyone has, and then the physical should have limited content like the Japanese do in Japan. So in the case of this first one, we're releasing it with the 6 extra stories basically. The That amounts to what, 25, 26 pages of extra content,
Yeah.
around that number. um yeah, they were exclusives in Japan. Like depending on what store you ordered the book from, you got one story. So there
Really?
were 6. We managed to compile them all into the physical book, and that's how we got it. Like technically it is something that it generally doesn't get in the hands of the West, but if you ask for it, then sometimes you get the extra content. And in our case it is not hard to get that extra content anyway, so we got it. And it's just a matter of translating that and into the book, because it is something that was meant for physical releases by the Japanese and not digital. And we want to follow the same line of thinking, line of
No.
thought in that sense.
So what are the paper covers for? Is that also to kind of be similar to the Japanese?
In terms of quality, no. In terms of quality, no, because Japanese versions, as you probably know, are not as high quality as the English ones.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it is the standard English quality you would get from any other company, basically. Like that, I know. Like I know how to what quality people are what kind of quality people are expecting. So let's see. Uh, Give me a second. Let me
Sure.
find the book. Yeah, there you go. So basically, um, this is the Japanese book. Okay,
Hmm.
so this is the Japanese book for side character. It is very small. As you can see, it is as big as my hand, basically.
Uh-huh.
So standard bunko size. The
Yeah.
difference would be bigger. It would be the size you showed before in the screen. So
Mhm.
this is the book. Also, and then it would have the
The
dust cover
yeah.
over. The gloss cover would be the same as the dust cover. It's just that this one is plain because it's a Japanese version, but it would
Okay.
be the same as this,
Uh-huh.
and it's the same as this, the same thing. And yeah, the paper here it's yellow. It would be white paper, recycled paper. Classic, I think the book would weight around the 300-gram mark. I'm not very sure yet. We haven't made the proofs yet, but I know for a fact it would weight more or less 300 grams
I see.
based on
That's
what specifications we ask for.
kind of 2 ounces for us Americans, I think, more or less.
I don't know how imperial system works, so
Yeah,
no clue.
don't worry. I'll put it on top of my head or something and post editing. Um, would you be open to making smaller versions for the English release? Because uh, the American market is always the big size books, but they tend to be really expensive. And well, not really expensive, but they're more expensive than an equivalent book in for an American novel, right? Like, are you willing to do something like this size? Sorry, that size for English releases?
I
Because this
actually
is
have.
a mass market paperback, which is
Yes,
to the bunko.
my my initial idea was actually to make small books instead of high quality books, but
Uh-huh.
but I changed the idea later. But my initial idea was to make these small books,
Like the J
like
Novel
this.
Club type, kind of.
No, even smaller. Like
Even smaller?
J Novel Club is let me see. Let me put you a comparison. J Novel Club is Diner of the Exiled,
Uh-huh.
and this one is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
What is the advantage of having small books? Well, basically, you pay $10 and the shipping is free anywhere
Mm-hmm.
in the world. That is the advantage that we have. If we made these books, you would only have to pay. I'm just making a number, but let's say
Yeah.
10,
Uh-huh.
$11 at most, and you wouldn't have to pay any shipping costs because the book is small and they are negligible. So we can ignore them basically.
Yeah.
That's the advantage of small books. The issue is that most of the people who are outspoken about what they want, and me included in a
Once.
sense, they want the higher quality books, which is very understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So for now we will stay in the line of the high quality end books. Maybe I try something with other releases. If these work well and we continue to do physicals, then maybe I try something different with another series. Like I release the usual standard high quality books, and then I make smaller books and see how would those fare.
Yeah. I would really, because I think the different sizes really allow more people to buy them. If they're cheaper, a lot more people are going to try to buy it, right? But
Yeah,
I
that's
understand
the idea.
that it's a bit difficult because you want it to be premium, so the people that are already interested buy it. What are the prices like? Like for buying books internationally? Do you know numbers for that? Can you tell us?
Buying books internationally,
Yeah,
uh,
like
you'll have to
like
be more specific then.
like you're in Spain. How do I buy a book in to the U.S. and how much?
Oh, yeah, that's probably the hardest thing when it comes to physicals. That is the thing that I've put that is the thing I've worked myself and others most. Issue is it is always the same issue. Why would you buy physical versions internationally if shipping costs start from $20? And
Yeah,
that's for like the shittiest, like, I'm gonna excuse my language, but it's for
I
the
know.
shittiest way of shipping. So we wanted to look for ways where you wouldn't have to pay, more for shipping than what the book costs, because
Mhm.
that's outrageous.
Yeah.
So what we managed to do in the end is we have a deal with a distributor here in Spain, and thanks to that, we will be able to send everything worldwide for $5, basically.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. It depends on the weight of the book, but it's either $5 or $6.
Uh huh.
Uh, in dollars, by the way. I'm not speaking in
Yeah. Yeah.
euros right now, and it would be worldwide. So at most, you would be having to pay $20 for each book, which is
That's
still
great.
something that is expensive. I understand, but it
Yeah.
is nothing compared to having to pay $40 to get the
Mhm.
book, or fifty
Yeah.
bucks. It's outrageous. Like long term, we want to offer choices where you don't have to pay the shipping costs through either retailers or our system.
Mhm.
Because obviously we're just starting, so the
Yeah. I
max we
understand.
can offer is what you've probably seen so far. But
Uh,
we will look for other options to have people pay less. It's just that
mhm.
for now, that is the cheapest thing we have been able to actually achieve, and hopefully people like the idea and actually are encouraged to buy them, since they are not that expensive in that way. Like it is still something expensive, I understand, but of course it is nothing in comparison to paying again $40 for a book.
So does that mean the physical copies are around $15?
Yeah, it depends on conversion, because it's 40, it's 13.99. They're going to be 13.99 euros. So depending on the conversion rate, it'll be like $15 approximately. Let's say it's gonna be like $15, and then the shipping at max it's going to be $4.99, I believe.
Okay.
So you would at most you would have to pay $20 for each book.
No. Sure. And the digitals are
Are
$10?
yes, $9.99 indeed. I think there was a question in I saw your thread of the questions in Reddit. I think there was a question related to why I chose $9.99 in English and $5.99 in Spanish, right? I think there was something related.
No, I think that was on your other interview with Ramen para Dos.
Oh, really? Then
Yeah,
I screwed up then.
please ask it.
No,
no,
it's basically it's like pricing isn't something that we exclusively choose. It is something that we agree with Japanese publishers. So in the end, we came to the idea that to attract more people in the Spanish side, since Spanish is so new, then lower prices would really make a difference in making people say, "Hey, this is cheap. Then I'd really buy this." And that's why we chose the difference in pricing. Basically, it's just because Spanish is such a brand new market that we want to really want to attract people and make them interested in, if something is cheap, and then they would get in more easily. Basically, just
well, keep going.
well, also it's just that we offer more content in English in the end. We offer physicals, which is something that we don't offer in Spanish. Plus, the Spanish people do not have access to the extra stories because there's no physical content, basically. So, it just balancing out the inequality of release.
Okay, so does that mean that once the market is established, it's probably going to cost more?
It really depends. Like maybe some releases stay the same pricing and others don't. Like it's in the end it's something that not only we choose but also the Japanese developers. Well, not developers, let's say publishers. The Japanese publishers choose to. So it really depends of what they perceive to be the best pricing.
Okay. And we can buy Spanish digital versions in the US, right?
Yes, you can. From every US, Amazon, Amazon Mexico, Amazon, whatever you want, whatever country you are in America, except Canada.
Okay.
And you can import the books either from our store or we're talking with a retailer in America. So you probably will have access to physicals easily through the US, or if you are in Latin America, you will be able to access them more easily. If you would rather buy them through retailers than through us.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now I'm really done, I promise. So thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And yeah, anything you want to tell us? Any upcoming projects or anything like that you want to let us know about?
No upcoming projects. Everything's secret. But yeah, but like pre-order the book on Amazon if you want, and if not, then wait for the other store / our store. Please buy in our store instead of others. Thank you. And that's it. Look forward to Side Character. It is a very good book, a very good series, and hopefully everyone likes the book as much as I did, because it is amazingly good.
For the audience, thank you guys very much for watching. It's the end of the video, and the interview with Tentai Books and Alex was amazing. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys liked, please subscribe, like my video, and comment down below. I talked to him afterwards, and we might be able to do another interview later down the road. So if you guys have any questions that you wish I had asked them, Put them down in the comments. Either way, thank you guys very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 50 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you guys could help me reach that goal, it'd be really amazing. And thank you guys very much for watching.